Take a breath. Take.
Good morning. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning here for the Center Square. You can go to thecentersquare.com where you can sign up for the newsletter to get the latest headlines from across the country and right here in the state of Illinois. And that's right. And go to thecentersquare.com, hover over states, and you'll be able to find the Illinois page and get headlines there. Plus all over the country, including in Washington, D.C. So make that happen and stay up to date, right? We're a free newswire service that is focused on how government's impacting you, the taxpayer, from a state level and beyond, where you can really get some good information without paywalls. So go to thecentersquare.com. All right, we got stuff to tackle today. We've got the U.S. Supreme Court with an orders list that they're going to be releasing at 8:30 our time. So just in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to be going to the order list page with the Supreme Court, and you can, of course, see that at the Supreme Court's website. They'll be releasing those orders at some point. Of course, well, we've got December 5th, they released some miscellaneous orders and, of course, headlines across the country on that. But what we're looking for is the Viramontes v. Cook County case challenging the state's gun ban, also the local gun ban. We talked about kind of the status of these separate cases challenging Illinois gun ban legislation and local ordinances. And all of this, of course, tied up in federal court. Now the U.S. Supreme Court being asked to take one of those cases. So we'll be live whenever that gets released, and I guarantee you, people in the live chat right now, they're likely going to be refreshing that page as well. And you might actually, if you're in the live chat, you'll find out before we actually announce it here as to whether or not they take the case. They could relist it, but we'll be doing that at about 8:30. I've got a couple of interviews that we had on Friday to delve into a couple of different issues that are on people's minds. One, dealing with the number of children in Illinois getting Medicaid services that don't have Social Security numbers. I talked with Bailey Templeton. She's a candidate for the Illinois State House, and she's been putting in Freedom of Information Act requests to various state agencies that deal with children and finding some things out. And we'll be talking about that some more when I share some of the interview I had with her on Friday. I also talked with State Representative Amy Ellick down in Granite City, where U.S. Steel announced that they're going to be starting up another blast furnace there. So that's going to bring some economic impact. So I'll share a conversation I had with Representative Ellick as well. All right. So that's what we got going on today here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Again, you can go and follow along at thecentersquare.com and join us each and every weekday morning here for more Illinois in Focus Daily. An Illinois legislator credits President Donald Trump for U.S. Steel's announcement. They're reopening a blast furnace down in Granite City, Illinois. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. And last week, you had U.S. Steel, late Thursday, announce that they're going to be reopening a blast furnace. Let's hear what some local lawmakers have to say about that. Of course, if you go to thecentersquare.com, you can sign up for the newsletter, get these headlines in your inbox. No paywall. All right, we're a free newswire service. So go check these stories out. And an Illinois state legislator from the Metro East says it's a Christmas miracle that U.S. Steel is reopening a blast furnace. Representative Amy Ellick, she's from Alton, Republican. She said that the impact is going to go beyond just the 400 good-paying jobs coming back to the area. So U.S. U.S. Steel announcing that, and we touched on this briefly Friday with the announcement that was made. U.S. Steel President and CEO David Burritt said the decision came after carefully analyzing consumer demand and confidence in the capabilities to safely and profitably operate the mill. Governor J.B. Pritzker also saying that this is a big deal. But when I chatted with State Representative Amy Ellick, she gave us her thoughts on just how big of a deal this is for her district, which is in the Metro East.
Yesterday, during the day, we started getting some outreach, we being myself and Senator Erica Harris. We started getting some outreach from a variety of people saying, we think there's good news coming. We think it's coming today. We started digging through all of our contacts and talking to people to find out what they were hearing. And lo and behold, we found out that the blast furnace B would be restarted. And I'm just absolutely elated over it. We are overjoyed for the community. It is the best possible outcome from all the advocacy that has been done from people at all levels of government for the community.
I remember going down to the blast furnace back in 2018 when President Donald Trump visited when he was in his first term. And the president had some things to say about that. And you could see the story linked up to the most recent story all the way back in July of 2018. Gosh, I remember going in there, by the way. It was... We had to get there super early to cover it and be in place hours before the president was to arrive, get our equipment in there, and then we had to exit so they could sweep the entire factory area before letting everybody else back in. But here's just some of what President Trump had to say back in 2018. And play it.
Steel workers and our steel workers are going back to work in record numbers, you notice? We're here today to celebrate a great victory, a victory for all of you, for this community, and for our entire country. After years of shutdowns and cutbacks, today the blast furnace here in Granite City is blazing bright. Workers are back on the job, and we are once again pouring new American steel into the spine of our country.
Again, this is from 2018 when the president then showed up to U.S. Steel down in the Metro East to talk about the reinvigorating of the steel industry in the United States. Again, 2018. Now in 2022, this was during the Biden administration, U.S. Steel announced it was shutting down its blast furnace. And then 2023, I believe it went offline. And that's a lot of jobs and a lot of economic impact. Amy Ellick on Friday, when I talked with her, she said as a state representative, she knows how this impacts the Metro East.
Well, sadly, the plant and the activities that's happened there over the last few years, when the blast furnace B was originally idled a couple years ago, I think it was in September of 2023, it felt like the plant was just on a collision course with closure. And back in September, we had the situation where U.S. Steel had said, we're not going to be shipping you any more steel slabs to be processed. That was still going on there since they closed the blast furnace and stopped making steel there. So they were still processing these slabs from other plants and other places. In September, then they came along and said, we're not sending you any. Trump invoked the golden share, and suddenly the company decided there was enough demand that they could go ahead and keep shipping the slabs. So I think the attitude in the community has been, we think they're going to eventually close us, and it's just been a painful, long couple years, especially for the union members that have just waited to determine what's happening. I mean, it was a very negative feeling all around about the future of Granite City Steel. So what happens yesterday when they say that they're going to restart the blast furnace? They're actually going to be producing steel again in Granite City, and that is what we've all just been hoping and wishing for. But to say that it's a Christmas miracle is not to be too silly about it. We truly feel like it's a miracle that Granite City's been given new life, and I think the whole community just cannot wait to see the steel being produced there again. And it's not easy to restart a blast furnace, and I think that's what's important to know, is that this is not something that it's going to be up for 2 weeks and then closed again. It's going to take a couple months for things to get rolling again. And so I just feel that the company made that decision knowing this is going to give them more time to be producing steel there, and that means more jobs. The economic impact is 400 more jobs coming back to Granite City Steel. So it's almost hard to immediately measure that, but the true impact is that there are 400 more jobs coming back to Granite City Steel. So people that maybe got laid off or took severance will be given opportunities to come back to work. There's going to be new people requested to be hired there as well if they can't get every single person to come back. Some of those people have moved on to other jobs or retired. So it's just I just feel like it's a shot in the arm for the community of Granite City.
So, Alec, talking about the economic impacts, and of course, 400 good paying jobs, but it goes beyond that as well when a major industrial operation gets fired back up.
Yeah, when you think about like the bad news that comes when something is idled or closed, the effect is always measured also not directly, but those indirect dollars that are spent in the local gas stations and the local fast food, the local restaurants, the local grocery stores. All the things that surround that plant are what you worry about when something closes. So now that we're going to restart and add those jobs, we're just thrilled that we think the entire region really will benefit economically from that, from increased traffic through Granite City and increased traffic in all those supporting organizations.
So the supporting organizations being small mom and pop shops even. And she says that President Donald Trump, if it was not for him being back in office, she doesn't think that this would have opened up.
This would not have happened. If President Trump was not in office, this would not have happened. He has focused on bringing investment to the United States, and that deal that he made between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel to get that sale through, and that golden share member that he insisted upon having so that the government can be represented in business decisions, is frankly the catalyst for what's going on here, in my opinion. This would not have happened under President Joe Biden and his administration in the past, or a President Kamala Harris had that happened. This is because of President Trump truly paying attention to the needs of local communities. And I will say, President Trump was here in 2018 at Granite City Steel, and we have asked him, remember those days and how impactful that was for the community at that time. I would love to see President Trump come back to Granite City. We would welcome him with open arms to make sure that he got to see the benefits to a community of what goes on when we invest in steel within the United States. And I'm thrilled that it's in Granite City, Illinois.
Again, that's State Representative Amy Ellick crediting President Donald Trump for that announcement from U.S. Steel and how that's going to impact the economy down in the Metro East area. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. With us each and every weekday morning. You can join in the live chat, get the podcasts, get the segments, get the headlines. Go to thecentersquare.com. Candidate for the Illinois State House continues her quest on getting information on how kids are being impacted in the state of Illinois, and the latest that she was able to obtain through Freedom of Information Act shows 20,000 children under the age of 18 that are getting Medicaid services without a Social Security number. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. You can subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus with the Center Square. And again, go to thecentersquare.com to get the latest headlines. The story we're working on here is a state representative who we featured in another story about Children and Family Services department here in Illinois that has a number of children that have not been able to be found, and that number is something that she got before, showing a drastic jump 1 year to year, but new numbers that the department put out to the Center Square showed that the state has hundreds of children each year, 200 200 that they don't have track of. The latest numbers that state representative candidate Bailey Templeton, she got together from the Department of Human and Healthcare and Family Services, DHFS, Healthcare and Family Services. It shows 20,000 children that are getting Medicaid services, taxpayer resources, that don't have Social Security numbers. I chatted with Templeton on Friday, and she explains what she's looking for.
Right. So I sent in a FOIA to Illinois DCFS recently about children in their care who do not have registered Social Security numbers. And they responded to me that they did not know exactly what I was asking for, and they wanted to set up a conference with me with multiple members of their staff to discuss this. I also, at the same time, presented the same FOIA to the Department of Human and Family Services, HFS, and I asked them the exact same questions. They had no pushback, and they actually informed me of 20,358 undocumented children on Illinois Medicaid. They do not have a Social Security number.
So Templeton showing us this chart that I was able to download directly through the shared folder from the Department of Healthcare and Family Services, and it shows that 20,358 children do not have Social Security numbers that are taking part in Medicaid, and it gives a breakdown of the ages. So you've got 0 to 1, 10,600, and then the rest being 1 to 17 years old. You even have the breakdown in the counties there of which they're coming from. Cook County, obviously a major driver. It's the largest county in the state. But you could see other counties. DuPage County has more than 870. But they do show that some counties are not listed in this because there's 5 or fewer individuals, and that's to protect the identity of those individuals. Templeton says, obviously, if you're a 0 to 1 year old, you may not have a Social Security number yet.
Right. And I've also seen documentation where they've had problems with certain agencies asking or requesting for Social Security numbers for these children. So that also could lay in the 10,000 that are in the age of 0. But anywhere between 1 and 17, I don't think there's any valid reason to not have a Social Security number registered if they're American citizens.
Now, what she's after is how much this is costing the taxpayers. And obviously, as a state house candidate, this is something she says she's going to continue to expose during a campaign. The election's not till March. That's the primary. She does have a primary. She's also got petitions being challenged, so that's got to be sorted out with the Illinois State Board of Elections. Regardless, she says that she's going to continue to look for how much this is costing taxpayers.
Yes, I am. I did an average search to see how much it would cost one child on Medicaid here in Illinois, and an average would be about $11,000 per child. Now, that would be assuming it's your well child visits and your regular visits that you would have, no additional medications. But if you've got a child with more difficult medical conditions, or who needs to be on a lot of medication or in hospitals for a long period of time, with the average of $11,000 per child, we're looking at roughly $224 million in taxpayer burden.
So it's a considerable amount of money she's estimating is going to, for instance, children between the age of 0 and 18 that don't have a Social Security number getting benefits. And again, she says that this is part of her quest for getting more information about not just taxpayer dollars, but how taxpayer dollars are being used and the impacts on children.
Absolutely. So my campaign slogan is going to be full disclosure, full exposure. I am an open book. I will ask any question that someone wants to have asked, and I will answer any question that is asked of me. And I do believe the most important thing we could do here is get an independent third-party audit, and it needs to be done statewide in any agency that deals with children.
And Templeton says that's a major goal of hers in this overall quest. She obviously is part of this Freedom of Information Act request she put in to get these documents showing, the number of children getting health care subsidies at 20,000 plus in the state of Illinois that don't have Social Security numbers. She was also able to get access to some policy papers that, procedure papers. And here it says, to receive benefits, one must have a social security number or proof. And again, this is a FOIA request that Templeton got back from the Department of Healthcare and Family Services here in the state of Illinois. It says, you have to have a social security number, but there are exemptions. Persons exempt from having to provide social security number listed below. Persons who fail to meet this policy are ineligible. It says, right here, this bullet point, non-citizens under the age of 19 who have certain non-immigrant visas or do not have any immigration documents and are requesting or receiving family health plans. So this is, again, an exemption from having to have a social security number. Templeton responded to that.
There needs to be extenuating circumstances for any type of public payment for someone who's not participating in being an American citizen. I don't believe that we should be paying or having the tax burden of every single child that enters our state, especially with the sanctuary laws and the things that our governor has been illegally doing, including warning with DCFS and other state agencies. He warned daycare agencies on how to handle if ICE were to show up looking for these children. That just creates, in my mind, a very gray area of what is happening to these children. Is this about protecting them, or is there something more sinister going on? And without DCFS giving me these answers, I don't know what to think here. I'm going to continue pushing forward, and if DCFS cannot provide me with corresponding paperwork, I think we've got a pretty serious issue here.
And she continues to discuss with DCFS on things that they are able to release. She says, but obviously this is an ongoing election cycle, and we'll see exactly how the ballot plays out and if she's going to be on it. And if she doesn't make it through the primary, she's going to continue to be a vocal watchdog of these types of issues. And she says that she's continuing forward to get even more information.
Yes, I'm going to try to see if we can get a year-by-year breakdown to see if there's been any rising cost in recent years or any lowering cost, or exactly what's going on there. I can't get like a services breakdown. I can get a broad variety of services, but we can't, because they are children and because it's HIPAA protected. I won't be able to tell exactly what we're looking for here. But I am centering most of my questions about transgender care on children.
And I asked her why that's important to her.
Well, Illinois DCFS has been allowing children to transition, and in order to do that, they have to remove them from their parents. If they have a lot of children without social security numbers, I would question, or if anyone has children without social security numbers, I would question why they haven't obtained a social security number and why they're able to receive any type of Medicaid benefits without one. And that creates, again, a gray area of what is happening. We need full disclosure on what is happening within the system and what is happening within children's rights being violated.
Again, that's State Representative Bailey Templeton, candidate, rather, for state representative. Don't want to promote her yet. We haven't had the election. March is the primary. You've got the November general election. But regardless, I think you're probably going to be hearing more from Ms. Templeton about this particular issue and all of the other facets that are involved. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Go to thecentersquare.com. Get headlines in your inbox. And stay tuned each and every weekday morning. Tons more to tackle. Oh, my gosh. I appreciate you guys being here. All right, it's that time. Let's go and check out to see what the U.S. Supreme Court is doing with their orders lists. And this deals at least with our focus here. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, editor of Illinois at thecentersquare.com. But what we're looking at here live is the U.S. Supreme Court order lists, and we're going to get something today about the conference they held on Friday. And we're looking at the Viramontes case. It's a case out of Cook County challenging Cook County's ban for semi-automatic firearms and magazines over certain capacities, but it worked in the state ban that came much later after the county ban. But that case going all the way up and down the circuit to the U.S. Supreme Court now. So let's go ahead and pull up the U.S. Supreme Court's websites and their order list, and again checking some of the live chat to see if you got people in there already pulling that up. Here's the order list. So what we're going to do is we're going to search for Viramontes, VR. Where are we at? Right, it's VR. Let's pull up the actual spelling here in the we'll try just copying this entirely. Go to the orders list. Do a reverse search. It's not showing it, so they may be relisting it if it's not on here. So just to make sure the search function's working. Yep, it's working. So don't see the case Viramontes v. Cook County here, but let's go to the page on the Supreme Court's website for Viramontes and see if it has been relisted. I imagine you'll see something posted here eventually about it being relisted, but even people in the live chat confirming nothing there. So no Cook County case that the U.S. Supreme Court deciding to take, but they are also not saying they're denying this. So that's another important aspect here is they're not denying to take this case. But a lot of speculation because you've got the Beavis case on preliminary grounds that went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Beavis case was the Naperville challenge that law weapons owner Robert Beavis filed against Naperville in November of 2022. And that was several months before the state enacted its statewide ban in January of 2023. Beavis suing, getting some motion in the courts, and then wrapping in the Illinois ban as part of Beavis's case on preliminary grounds that went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. They said they're not going to take the case because it's not ripe yet, and then they put it back down into the district courts. And then you had the state challenge, the Southern District of Illinois federal challenge, where the 4 plaintiffs groups came together in the Barnett case. That was challenging the state's gun ban. That case, also on preliminary grounds, went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. They said not ready yet. Went back down into the Southern District for the merits. They dealt with the merits. They then moved on to the appeals courts. The appeals court heard the case on the merits. We're waiting for them to release their ruling. Now, that case, the Barnett case, can't get to the U.S. Supreme Court until on the merits, not on preliminary grounds. It's already gone to the U.S. Supreme Court on preliminary grounds, if I recall. But on the merits, it can't go to the U.S. Supreme Court until the Seventh Circuit acts. Is the Seventh Circuit waiting to see what the U.S. Supreme Court does with the Viramontes case? Because we've already seen some of the arguments in the Viramontes case saying this doesn't have a sufficient record. So, are they going to take this case? The Barnett case out of the Southern District, where they do have a judge ruling the law is unconstitutional after a 4-day bench trial, thousands of pages of documents, dozens of witnesses and experts testifying even in the court, that obviously has a record to it. So that's what the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals is dealing with in that gun ban challenge. But the U.S. Supreme Court has this Viramontes case, which they have not told us what's going on now with the case, right? Well, it's kind of in limbo, right? It'll probably be relisted, and they'll have another conference, and then we'll come back and refresh the order list from the U.S. Supreme Court to see if they're going to give us that, or exactly how that's going to play out. But obviously, we'll be watching it, and I imagine if you're watching us, and you can stay up to date. So that's why you should like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Greatly appreciate you being here each and every weekday morning. You can join the live chat. It's a fun group of people always plugged into what's going on. So go make that happen, and be sure to also get the newsletter. All right, go to thecentersquare.com, and you can get headlines in your inbox totally free, no paywall. All you got to do is just give us your email, and boom, you get the headlines. All right, so go to thecentersquare.com/Illinois, find Illinois page information, but you can also go to thecentersquare.com to watch what's going on elsewhere throughout the country. All right, have a great Monday morning. We'll see you back here tomorrow. It is Illinois in Focus Daily.